In the suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia, Mark O. Barton lived with his loving wife and 2 children. Neighbors described him as charming and approachable. He coached his son Matthew's soccer games and loved to play Monopoly with his daughter, Michelle. At a glance, he was your typical family man. Unbeknownst to everyone, however, Mark Barton was hiding a terrible secret. Barton had shown potential as a brilliant chemist despite an ongoing drug habit that plagued his adolescence. He graduated from the University of South Carolina in 1978 with a degree in chemistry. He worked various odd jobs to support himself after failing to find steady work. In 1985, he met his first wife, Deborah Spivey, and they soon married. Their son, Matthew, was born in 1988, and daughter, Michelle, was born in 91. Barton's troubles first began when the family relocated to Alabama for his employment. The stress caused his work to plummet, and he was let go. In an act of revenge, Barton hacked into the unnamed company's security software to alter data. He was caught and sentenced to a short jail term. When the family moved back to Georgia, Barton began to suffer from paranoid delusions and was convinced that his wife was out to get him. On September 6, 1993, Deborah Barton and her mother, Eloise Spivey, were murdered at a campground in Cedar Bluff. The pair were spending Labor Day weekend together during their untimely demise. Police entered their trailer to find the 2 women bludgeoned to death. There had been signs of a struggle. Someone, most likely the killer, had vomited on the floor, perhaps from the adrenaline of the attack. Other campground visitors reported that on the night of the murders, a tall, large man was seen arriving and exiting the area where the women had been staying. While there was no clear description of the man, police narrowed it down to husband Mark Barton. Prior to the killings, Barton had taken out a $600,000 life insurance policy on Deborah. When analyzing the crime scene, police discovered that the women's purses had been emptied, but no jewelry or cash had been taken, which excluded the scenario of a robbery gone wrong. Deborah had also told a friend that she discovered Mark was having an affair with a coworker, and that he flew into violent outbursts when confronted about it. She'd been in the process of filing for a divorce at the time of her passing. One witness said that neither woman seemed paranoid during their stay, but Eloise Spivey's .32 caliber pistol she'd brought along with her on the trip seemed to suggest otherwise. When Mark Barton arrived at the campground with his father-in-law, Bill, the first thing he said, out of the blue, was, I've never been here before." Bill found that odd and told a nearby officer that Barton didn't seem upset or concerned over his wife's death. He even denied the opportunity to take a lie detector test, which would have cleared him of any wrongdoing. With more speculation than there was physical evidence, Barton could not be formally charged with the crime and remained a free man. He eventually moved back to Georgia with his children and married a woman named Lee Ann Vandiver, who just so happened to be the coworker he was having an affair with. Barton used the money he had earned in the life insurance policy to quit his job and secure self-employment as a day trader, and found work at Momentum Securities. On his best days, when he earned up to $500 from investing stock, Barton was nicknamed the Rocket Man for his bright smile and positive energy. He even gave the other day traders advice on where to invest and made a few friends along the way. However, Barton wasn't warned by the office manager that he could lose money just as fast as he made it if he wasn't careful. Momentum dealt primarily with high-risk internet-related stocks. As a result, Barton eventually accumulated a debt of over $100,000 by June of 1999. The company closed his account, but Barton promised to return their cash in the near future. A week later, Barton opened an account with Alltech Investment. Barton quickly became a regular and found himself making more money than ever. On his low days, when he'd lost a good deal of money or invested in the wrong stock, Barton kept to himself and often stared down at his keyboard in disbelief, shaking his head and leaving without a word. Brent Doonan's boss soon received word from the manager at Momentum about Barton's financial losses. Doonan himself was put into the position of closing Barton's account and informing him firsthand that he was no longer allowed to day trade at their company. Surprisingly, Barton took the news fairly well. He shook hands with Doonan, said his goodbyes, and promised to return with the money he'd lost. On July 29, 1999, Doonan was in a conference room discussing work with two potential investors when he was informed that Mark Barton had entered the office and was looking for him. Barton popped his head into the conference room and, with a smile on his face, said,
"Hey, Brent, you got a minute? Come here, you're gonna love this."
The young man excused himself from the meeting and the two walked over to Doonan's office. As soon as the door closed, Barton closed the blinds and his entire demeanor changed.
"Today is going to be visual."
In a split second, he pulled out two handguns. Doonan was shot twice at point-blank range and fell to the floor as Mark Barton turned his attention towards the table of day traders just outside the office. In a matter of minutes, Barton had executed 5 people at Altec and wounded several others before fleeing the scene. One woman reportedly heard him say,
"I hope this doesn't ruin your trading day."
Doonan sustained 5 gunshot wounds and nearly bled to death before he was rescued by a SWAT team 2 hours later. When 911 calls came flooding in, police were already at the scene of Barton's first shooting spree, Momentum Securities. Shortly before 3 o'clock, Barton walked in and approached Kevin Dial, the office manager. After a brief conversation, Barton killed Dial with a shot to the chest and then proceeded to execute 3 day traders as people tried to escape his rampage. Barton fled in his green minivan, where he was eventually caught and cornered at a gas station in Auckworth a few hours later. Police ordered him to surrender. Barton put his Colt .45 against his temple and fired. When the police raided Barton's apartment in Stockbridge, they found the bodies of his wife and 2 children. On July 27th, Barton had bludgeoned Leanne to death as she slept, and killed the children the following night. They had all been murdered with a hammer prior to the mass shooting spree. In a suicide note left on his computer, Mark Barton explained his motive.
"I have been suffering since October. I wake up at night so afraid, so terrified that I couldn't be that afraid while awake. I killed Leia Ann, as she was one of the main reasons for my demise. I have come to hate this life and this system of things. I have come to have no hope. I killed the children to exchange them for 5 minutes of pain, for a lifetime of pain. I forced myself to do it to keep them from suffering so much later. No mother, no father, no relatives left behind to take care of them. I don't plan to live much longer, just long enough to kill the people that greedily sought my destruction. There may be similarities between these deaths and the death of my first wife. However, I deny killing her and her mother. There's no reason for me to lie now. With that being said, you should kill me the first chance you get."